Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Treasure Peter and this is Treasure's Craft. In case you're just meeting me for the first time, thank you so much for stopping by. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. On today's tutorial, I'll be making this beautiful gown. It's a milkmaid gathered corset gown with an opening in front, a flare down at the down part, and the neck is a Queen Anne neck for both the front and the back with puff sleeves. So guys, keep watching till the end if it's something you're interested in for better understanding. Thank you. Welcome back once again guys. So in order to make this gown, I'll be making use of 3 yards of this flower crepe material. I'll be making use of my zip. This is an invisible zip. I also use my markers to draw out my patterns, and I'll also be making use of my paper scissors. This scissors is mainly for my paper, and then I'll use my fabric scissors. So always try to use a separate scissors for your paper and your fabric. So I'll make use of my French curves and as well as pattern paper. So let's go straight into the drafting of this before we'll go into the sewing. So I placed my pattern paper at once. I didn't keep it on fold. So in order to draft, I went ahead to mark my shoulder to my bust point, shoulder to under bust point, and my shoulder to half length. After that, I marked my shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I also marked my neckline. I just used the normal neckline, the 3 inches by 3 inches neck width and neck depth for my front pattern. I'm going to extend the neckline later on, but let's just make do with this for now. And then at my shoulder point, I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slant, and then I'll just go ahead to connect my shoulder like so. And then after that, I took my chest line. In order to take my chest line, I just divided my bust circumference by 6, and then I added 1.5, which is like the normal way to get our chest line. After that, I just went ahead to label it my chest line, and then on my chest line point, I took my shoulder measurement divided by 2 again, and then I drew a straight line to connect back to my shoulder point. This is just like the basic thing I've actually been doing in my channel, but I'm just doing it in case we have beginners watching this video. So the next thing I went ahead to do was to take my bust circumference divided by 4. I marked it, and then from my shoulder slant to my chest line, which is 7 inches, I took the midpoint at 3.5, and I came in by half an inch. And so this is just to reduce the bulginess at that armhole area, and then from there I connected the 3 lines together to form my armhole. After that, I went ahead to take my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2 plus half an inch, and I had 4 inches, so I went ahead to mark it on my lines. After marking it, I went ahead to draw a straight line across like so. And then the next thing I did was to go up by 1.5 inch at the side part of from my chest line, and then 1 inch at the down part, and then I connected the line. This is going to serve as my new neckline. So note, the reason why I came up that much is because I wanted to cover my bust very well, but if you wanted to stop at your chest line or you want to go up by half an inch, it's still okay. After that, I extended the nipple to nipple line to meet that point, and then after that I took out my darts for my corset. I took out 1 inch from both sides, so I just went ahead to take out 1 inch from my half length to my under bust point. Also from my bust point, I went up by half inch, and I also came down by half inch. And this is actually to make the bust area not to be too pointy. I like doing this so that my bust area would lap very well. So after that, I drew a straight line from my half length to my under bust, and I connected my curve in this manner like so. At this point, I think I have to be faster so that the video will not be too long. Then at my new neckline, I went ahead to also take out my dart. At that point, I came in by 0.75, which is 3/4 of an inch, and then I went out by 1.25, which is 1/4. this is just the way I decided to take the upper part. But altogether my gap intake is 2 inches. So I went ahead to just draw the line to connect my curve like so. And then after that, in order to take out my corset cups, I came in by half an inch from my chest line to my half length, and then I connected the straight line like so. And then after that, I kept my curve from my under bust point to connect down to my chest line. So just place your curve and make sure you pass it through your bust point like so. Just see how I'm doing it. Make sure that it passes through, almost through your bust point, and this is how I am drawing my curve. And then in order to take my other cup, I went ahead to measure what I had on this cup, and I added half an inch. I had 3.5 from my bust point, and I added half an inch, which is 4 inches. Therefore I took 4 inches on my bust point, and then I'm going to just use my curved ruler to curve the line like so, meeting the 4 inches point on my bust point, and then I'll just go up straight. After that, I'm taking my waist measurement divided by 4. I replaced my dart by 2 inches. Please note, I started my measurement from the very beginning, not from the half-inch mark that I took. I also took my bust circumference divided by 4, and I also had to replace the 2 inches dart around my chest area, and then I went ahead to mark it, and then I went ahead to connect my bust to my waistline like so. After that, at my neckline, I went ahead to take a neck width of 4 inches because of how the neck is. The neck is not that tight, so I went ahead to just take my neck width of 4 inches, and then I had to mark my shoulder slant again. And then at the down part of my new chest line, I came in by 1.5 inch from my shoulder line, and then I connected it to that 4 inches to bring out my queen hand neckline. So you can connect it in a straight line like this, or you can make it in a curved form. So I decided to just make it in a curved form. So this is just all about the neck of this gown. So at this point, you are done drafting the front, and I went ahead to just label it my neck as queen hand to show you guys what I'm trying to do. And then I went ahead to just mark out the parts that I'll be cutting out on my pattern paper. So I went ahead to just cut out my pattern paper. So this is almost the same way I draft my corset. Whenever I'm drafting my corset, I went ahead to mark my center front, my side front. I marked the arrows so that I will know which is which before I went ahead to cut out my dart off. So this is just it about the front pattern. I also went ahead to cut out the center part, and I just note where I'm cutting out so that you will know where to cut out whenever you want to cut yours. So this is what I have when I was done cutting. This is how our pattern is supposed to be. For the down part, I just had to place it together, and I used my paper tape to just tape it down. This is because I do not want to cut it separately. I want to cut it at once. Whenever I'm cutting it on my fabric, I'll just add my allowance by ½ inch at the top part, and then add my sewing allowance before cutting it. I forgot to do something at the front part. I noticed that the half length actually has a curve at the center part. So I went ahead to attach my pattern paper so I'll be able to bring out that curve. So my half length for the front part, I used 15 inches, and then the half length for the back part, I'll be using 14 inches. So because of that, I wanted the side of my front half length to be the same as the side of my back half length. So I came down by 2 inches at the center part for the curve, but I feel 1.5 inch is okay. I had to draw the line for my front half length again, and then I went up by 1 inch, and this 1 inch is so that it will just align with the back part at the side, and then I just took out the curve at the center part of my front. So like I said before, when you're taking yours, you can go down by 1.5 because the 2 inches I discovered it was too long, so I had to reduce it by ½ inch when I was sewing. So I went ahead to just cut it out. For my cups, I went ahead to use the slash and spread method in order to slash and spread the cup, since it has a very little gather at the cup area. So I went ahead to divide the center front into 3. I also went ahead to divide the side front into 3, like so. So I went ahead to number 1 2 3 4 5 6. I made sure to number it accordingly, so I will know how to place it and spread it on another paper. So I went ahead to just cut it out. And then on another piece of pattern paper, I spread the slash cups, leaving the space of ½ inch for each spread. I started from pinning the one at the side front, and then I pinned the second one. And then before then, I needed to make sure that the up parts will align with the down part. So I first went ahead to draw a straight line across at the up part and also at the down part, although this was not really necessary. Then after then, I went ahead to just place my slash cup accordingly. I left the space of ½ inch for each. I kept spreading. Then at the center that attaches the other cup to this other cup, I did not keep any space. I made sure to keep it, making the center of the side to touch the center of the center, like so. So after spreading it, this was what we had. I went ahead to just add ½ inch at once round the cups before I went ahead to just cut it out. So this ½ inch I have added, I'm not going to add it on my fabric again. I've added my ½ inch seam allowance already on the cup, so I went ahead to just cut it out like so. So this is all for slashing and spreading the cups. This is because the cup was not well gathered. The gather was not much. If the gather was much, I would have left the space of up to 1 inch or 1½ inch. So after that, I unpinned my slashed paper and I went ahead to label where my center front is, so I would remember. So right now it's time to cut our back pattern. So for this back pattern, it's something I have been doing almost all the time on my channel, so I'm not going to waste time. I'll just sharply go through it in order to save time. I added my allowance for zip at 1½ inch, went ahead to draw across. Then I marked my shoulder measurement, took my shoulder slant. I took my neck width at 4 inches at once and my neck depth at 1 inch. And then I went ahead to slant my shoulder slope. I took my chest line by 7 inches. I marked it across. I took my shoulder measurement, my round bust circumference, and then I draw out my armhole. At my waistline, I took my nipple to nipple measurements plus ½ inch. I also took it at my chest line, came down from 1 inch at my chest line, and I took ½ inch on both sides at the waistline to take my dart intake, and then took my waist circumference divided by 4 and I replaced my dart of 1 inch. So for the back part, I'm also going to take a queen hand neckline. So I came in by 1 inch for my back part from the shoulder and I slanted it to just take out my queen hand for the back. So I just decided to keep the neckline to be at the chest line, to just be the straight line. At my waistline, at the zipper point, I came in by ½ inch and I connected it back to the chest line. This is just to reduce the bulginess around the zipper area. So I went ahead to just cut out my back pattern like so. So this is how our back would look like. I'm going to be adding the allowances when I cut it on my fabric. At this point, I want to cut the flare part of my gown, the down part. So my material was actually in 2 pieces. I had 2 yards separate and I also had 1 yard separate. So I want to be using the 2 yards to just cut the flare part. So because it's just 2 yards, I'll just have to join it, and I want to cut my flare at once together. I'm not going to cut the front separate or the back separate. So I went ahead to just take it down where there is space and then I folded it by the 2 inches first, folded it into two, and then I did a triangle. And because of that, the length of my gown will not be enough when I'm going to take, so I'm going to have a joining at the back part. So that's why I folded it in this manner, so there'll be a joining at the back part. So I'm now folding it into the triangle form to take out the flare part. Or if your material is a whole, like the 3 yards a whole, there will be no need for you to have a joining, because when you fold it, it will be complete to take the down part of your flare area. What I did, I rounded my tape around this area to check the waist, my waist measurement, if it will be enough for my waist measurement. So my waist measurement is actually 28, but I added additional 5 inches to 28. So I was trying to check if I'll get the additional, that's 33 inches divided by 4 at when folded, when I placed my tape, and I checked where it was, and I took note of where that was, and I'm going to just start my measurement from there. So note, the reason why I added 5 inches is because of my zipper allowance, and also because of the joining at the front area. So the joining at the front area where the opening is, I needed to add allowance for it. So when I determined where my waist measurement divided by 4 plus the 5 inches divided by 4 is going to be, I went ahead to just mark it in this manner. Make sure that you place your tape at the topmost part and just press it while you round that measurement like so. So sorry, my chalk is not showing well because of my fabric. My material has so much colors already, and that's why it's not showing well. So from my marking, I'm going to be taking my half length. My half length is actually 14. I'm actually using 14, so I'll start my measurement from 13.5. So the half inch will be for joining at the top, and then I'll take the full length that I want. For mine, I use 48 at my full length. So you're just going to be placing your 13.5 at the topmost part where you marked your first measurement, and then you're going to just make sure that you keep moving it bit by bit, and then you keep rounding to take your measurement like so. So I had to go ahead to just cut the top part first, so it will be clearer what I'm doing. So from there, I went ahead to place my 13.5, and then I went ahead to mark it all round following the line. So after that, I went ahead to just cut out my flare. So if you notice, the back part of my flare is going to have a joining, so I went ahead to just cut out another piece to attach the joining like so. So I had to pin it down so I'll know where to just join it, and I'll go ahead to join it whenever I'm sewing it. So that's all for cutting the down part of our flare. It's time to cut the sleeves. I went ahead to fold my fabric into two, and I took a width of 12 inches, that by 2 altogether 24 inches. This sleeve is a puff sleeve, that's why I'm taking that width, so it will be big and it will be puffy. If you want it very puffy more than that, you need to take more than 12 inches. So I came down at my length by 24 inches. Meanwhile, my long sleeve is 22, so I added additional 2 inches because I'm going to fold it in and take my elastic. And then at the topmost part at the side, I came down by 5 inches and I just curve it to meet the center like so. So I'll just go ahead to cut it out. So guys, if you're a beginner and you want to know how to cut the basic sleeves, I've done a detailed tutorial on that. I'll drop the link on my description box. You watch it and understand better. After cutting it, I place it on another fabric to bring out the second sleeves. Please guys, if you've watched up to this point and you've not subscribed to my channel, please do well to hit that subscribe button and also turn on your notification bell so that whenever I drop a video, you'll be notified. So this is our front pattern. After I was done cutting it on my fabric, I added allowance of ½ inch at the cup area, and I added up to 1.5 inch allowance for my seam allowance. And then for my down part, I added ½ inch, but I didn't add allowance to the cup like I said because I had already added the allowance to the pattern paper. And then for my yoke, I also added ½ inch allowance at the neck area, and I also added allowance to my shoulder body round armhole area I didn't add any allowance. I actually used my material as the lining. I went ahead to just cut 2 of these. I also cut the yoke. Altogether it was 4 pieces, and also the cups altogether it was 4 pieces. For the back part, I also cut and added my allowances just like I did to the front. So I went ahead to just notch my that allowance. So we are done with cutting. It's time for us to go ahead and sew. So the first thing I am going to do is to work with my cups. Just take note of where your center front is, and I place my cups together. This is how it's going to be. The first thing I'll go ahead to do is to run a loose stitch so I can use it for gather. So but before then, I'm going to take the double part. I told you earlier that I cut it all together, it was 4. I placed one on the other part, I placed the other one on the other side. Make sure to note the right side, and then after that I went to my machine and I sewed a loose stitch for gathers. After sewing the loose stitch, I measured round the cup area to know how many inches it is, and then I used the measurement to take. So I went ahead to pull the thread for the gathers. I made sure that it aligned with the cup area. I also make sure that the gathers were distributed evenly, so it will look nice and it will not look so puffy on one side and so scanty on the other side. After doing that, I went ahead to make sure to confirm my measurement. When it wasn't the same thing, I had to make sure that it aligned. So this is only for the down part of the cup. After that, I went ahead to just do the same thing to the other side of my cup, and I went ahead to take it to my sewing machine to sew it from the center part with half an inch to the side with half an inch, just like so. So this was what I had after I was done joining the cups together. Then the next thing now I'm going to do is to attach my lining to my front part. So I'll use the lining to turn the joining in so it will cover up like so. So I went ahead to turn on one side, and then I had to turn around to turn on the other side too. So this is what I had after I was done turning it. If you can see, if you check very well, that place is hidden. Our front is even looking like our back. It's looking so nice. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to work on the yoke. So I just went ahead to use my lining for the yoke to turn by half an inch. If you have your hemming gum, use it to turn it so it will look very neat. So after turning it, this is what I had. I went ahead to iron it down to press it very well. Then I'm going to attach it to the side part of my front part. So this is what it's going to look like when I'm done joining it. So I went ahead to join it by half an inch. This is what I have. Next thing I'm going to do is to use this long strap. I think it's about 1.5 or 2 inch width, and then the long as your neck area for the front part. So I went ahead to join it by half an inch. I join it so I'll be able to turn it to the back part of our front. So this is what I had after I was done joining it. So I'm just going to sew on it. I'll fold it in and sew on it. This is where our rope is going to pass, that we are going to use to draw the up part of our front. So I'll just sew it down, and then I'll show you guys what I have. Make sure to keep enough space for your rope whenever you are sewing it down. So this was what I had after I was done sewing it. The next thing I'm going to do is to just open up the whole space at the back part. Make sure to open it at the back part, and be careful so you won't enter the front side, so it won't show. So it's not show at the front side. So just open it to be wide enough that your rope will be able to pass through. Note the hole is at the center part. The hole is at the center. So for our rope, this is what I have. You have to take the rope that to be long enough. For mine, I took about 25 inches for the length of my rope, and I went ahead to just sew out the rope. And this is what I have after I was done sewing it out. I'm just going to use my broomstick to bring it out to the other side. So after bringing it out, I use my thread to attach it to my broomstick, and then I pass it through the hole from the side, from the armhole area through the center to bring it out at the center. Remember the space I had to keep at the center. So this is what I did. Make sure to attach it at the end, just secure it so that you will not have to pull it out and then start all over again. So this is what I had after I was done putting the rope for the two parts, and I dragged it. So this is how our front looks like. For the back part, I also used my material to cut out another piece as my lining, to serve as my lining. So I went ahead to unpin my pattern paper, taking note of where my zipper allowance part is. You have to note where it is. If it's possible, go ahead to just notch it. So for our yoke for the back, I went ahead to also unpin it, and this is how it will look like. I also went ahead to sew out the rope for the back. I used the length of about 25 inches. I had to attach the rope to the yoke first before I turn the yoke. So just attach it and leaving half an inch space at the shoulder where you'll be able to join your shoulder. So I went ahead to just pin it down first before taking it to the sewing machine to turn my yoke with my rope together. After attaching it, this is what it looks like. I went ahead to just use my iron to press it down so it look very neat, and this is how you're going to tie the rope. So in order to determine where I'm going to join my yoke part to my down part, I had to use my shoulder measurement to determine where I'm going to join it together. So I used my chalk to mark my shoulder measurement, and I made sure that the shoulder measurement actually aligns with the up part of the shoulder measurement, and then I'll go ahead to just attach it together, and then I'll take it to the sewing machine to just join it together with half an inch. I'll do the same thing for the other side, then I'll show you guys what I have. So after joining the yoke, attaching the yoke, I went ahead to use the lining to turn the neck area at once, and this is what we had after I was done turning it. I went ahead to sew and attach my lining together, and after that I'm going to go ahead to take in my dart. So this is what I had. I went ahead to fold it in to take in my dart from the top part to the down part with half an inch. After sewing my darts, I went ahead to just attach the shoulder part of the front to the shoulder part of the back, using one side of the facing to turn it in so that it will be neat. So here is our top part after I was done joining it at the shoulder part. So I'll just go ahead to just attach my sleeves. So I went ahead to attach my sleeves, gathering the excess at the middle part and then taking it round like so. So I'll go ahead to my sewing machine to just sew it, and then I'll show you guys what I had. This was what I had after I was done sewing it. Went ahead to fold in the end part of my sleeves, and then I went ahead to put my elastic. I used 9 inches, which was the round sleeves measurement for my long sleeves. So in the absence of a safety pin, you can use your broomstick to fix your elastic. Just attach it like this to the elastic, and then use your thread to tighten it very well, and then you're just going to use it and pass it through the elastic hole just like this. So this is just another way of fixing your elastic in case you do not have a safety pin close by. So after putting my elastic, I had to use my office pin to secure it at the end so that it will not come out. After securing it, I had to push it out to bring it out on the other side, and then I'll also secure it. Then I'll take it to the machine to just sew it and tighten it first. I went further to attach the zipper parts together using the office pin to secure it first at the top part. Then I'll go ahead to close the side seams before I attach the down part to the top part. After closing the sides, this was what I had. I went ahead to open up my zipper allowance part. So this is how I'm going to attach the down parts to the top parts together. But before then, I had to take note of where my front opening would be. So for me, I took my measurements from the joining part of my front part to about 3 inches towards the center, but I recommend that you use 4 inches because I discovered mine was somehow two-sided. So I used the right hand side of my front for the opening. You can use any side you want to use. So this is the flare part. I'm just going to attach it to the top part. I started from my zipper allowance part, attaching it right side facing the right side. I join it with half an inch, stopping at the point where my opening will be to confirm where it will be, and I took out the allowance for my opening. I used 1.5 inch to take out the allowance at my opening part. So just see how I'm doing it to confirm that it will stop at the opening part, and at that part I will go ahead to just cut it out. So just keep it well, arrange it very well before cutting it so that it will not be unequal. Then I went ahead to just cut it out, and then the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to close that opening side. I'm going to close it from the top part to where I want my opening to start from. So this was what I had after I was done joining it. I will go ahead to just sew on it, to just sew it in order to make it neat, to fold it in at that opening part. At this part I'll now do the final joining the down flare with the up part, and you will notice that it is going to align with the mark that I kept. So this was the notch part, and see my joining as aligned. So I'll go ahead to just take it to my machine and join it. After joining it, this is what I had. Our gown is almost ready, so I'll just go ahead to close my zipper allowance area together. So this was what I had after we're done sewing it. It's just left with fixing the zipper, so I'll just go ahead to fix my zipper. Our gown is ready, and I'm also folding the down part of my gown. So guys, thank you so much once again for watching this video. If you watch up to this point and it was of value to you, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't, and also turn on your notification bell icon so that when I drop a video you'll be notified. So this is me trying out the gown. Sorry, my background is not really giving this gown the look it ought to give. So guys, see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.